This Impact Wrestling review was brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Try it, and you won't slip a disc in your mental mind the next time you fandango yourself. Okay, first things first. Yes, I heard about all the roster cuts, and no, I'm not going to talk about them here. If you want my thoughts on all that, go watch the new Q&A video that I recorded on Wednesday. We're talking about Impact right now, and what an interesting Impact it was. Interesting in that there were some mediocre things that I didn't really care about that much, mixed in with some things that I absolutely loved. And there wasn't a whole lot of middle ground for some reason. We had some BFG series matches that were just kind of there. You know, they weren't really highlighting the tournament too much this week. It all felt kind of inconsequential because the focus was really on the main event Mafia and the X Division, which turned out to be really damn cool. AJ Styles versus Kazarian was solid, though I wish it had more time. But they did manage to fit in another classic Bad Influence promo with them dressing up like Siegfried and Roy. Oh god, I love these two. So that got the BFG series stuff off to a good start at least. I like Jay Bradley, but I didn't care about the next match because I don't care about Hernandez. Or Chavo. And judging by the crowd reaction, I'm not the only one. And who are we supposed to root for here anyway? Bradley's the heel, but he's more likable than either of the faces, and then Chavo cheats to help Hernandez win. Ugh. So the talent who actually has potential takes another loss, and the two guys with the combined charisma of an inanimate object go over. Moving on.
I will not participate in this charade this evening.
Then we had Jeff Hardy versus Joseph Park. They actually gave Joseph a surprising amount of offense here, way more than you'd think they would. And they had a better match than you'd think they would, too. But they need to be careful with Joseph, because they're walking a very fine line with this character. If they make him look too good in the ring, then his underdog act isn't really going to fly anymore. Just something I hope they're keeping an eye on. The Jekyll and Hyde thing backfires on Joseph this time. He gets busted open, and then he attacks the referee, costing him the match. It was an interesting finish, and I guess it was bound to happen, but I hope they won't do that too often. You know, Joseph getting his abyss on is something that the other wrestlers should fear. It should be something that's terrifyingly effective, at least in my opinion. That's what makes this character so fascinating. It's the hapless underdog and the ruthlessly efficient monster, and they're two sides of the same coin. And the trick is to find a balance there. You can't make Joseph Park too competent, and you can't take Abyss too far in the other direction. If you lose that balance, then you're going to have to evolve the character somehow, or you risk screwing up what you've created here. Whether you can't stand this idea of Robbie E. and Jesse Goddard as a tag team, or whether you like them for some reason, I don't know why you would, there's really no denying that these guys are not believable title contenders. On the credibility scale, they're at the bottom rung of the ladder with the deuces and fours.
You guys suck.
Goddard has done nothing since last October. Robbie's closing in on a full year since he won a match on TV. Everyone knows the deal with these guys, and thankfully they were booked accordingly. Gunstorm versus the Bromance was just a squash to put over the new tag team champs, exactly as it should be. Is there anything else to say about it? The crowd seemed to be digging Storm and Gunner. I liked it when the Bromance lost. That's really all I've got. Can we get Gunstorm into a real feud now, please? Once again, the winner of the gut check match gets sent home, and the loser gets to face the judges. I think the third time in a row this has happened. Is there any chance that's not a coincidence? I don't know, but the thought of a faction of disgruntled gut check losers returning to wreak havoc on TNA in the future doesn't exactly fill me with anticipation. Though I would love to see Ivelisse back. So it's a no for Ryan Howe as well, and I'm fine with that decision. I would have said no to How and maybe to the Big O, but neither of them were like must signs or anything, and that's really part of the problem if I'm being honest. Too many of these gut check matches have been unimpressive, too many of the judges' decisions have been really head-scratching, and the track record of gut check so far has been pretty bad. By now, most fans are thinking that winning gut check just means you're going to disappear for months on end and either come back to routinely underperform or make 1 or 2 appearances and then get released. Jay Bradley being the exception so far. People don't take it seriously anymore, and the company hasn't given them much of a reason to. TNA need to find higher quality talent for this, and if they get signed, they need to get to the main roster relatively quickly. Otherwise, fans seem like they're really struggling to care. I love the gut check concept, but TNA need to be smarter about it if they want it to work. Here's a suggestion, just putting it out there. If you have 2 people you want to try out, have them work a dark match first. If it's really impressive, if the crowd likes them, if you think you might have a star on your hands, then put them in gut check. But if it's not that good, if the crowd doesn't care, if you're pretty sure you're going to vote no on both of them, then just don't do it. Don't bother. You'll save yourself screen time that would be better spent on something else. Mickie James, who I swear is somehow getting sexier every week since she turned heel, cuts a fabulous promo on the Gail Kim Taryn Terrell ladder match next week, and she's putting herself over, mentioning her successful music career and her endorsement deals and lots of other stuff. And you know what? She wasn't lying. Mickey's got her hands in a lot of pots. She's got legit crossover appeal, and that's why it makes all the sense in the world for her to be the Knockouts champion right now. I'm sorry, Velvet Sky fans, but it's true. I like this a lot. Not just because it was a great promo, but because it's the champion addressing a #1 contenders match in a way you don't normally see with women. It wasn't 2 women fighting for the #1 contendership while the champion watches on a monitor backstage or sits in on commentary but doesn't get involved and then does a stare down with the winner post-match. Mickie made this seem like a big match, and it feels like a big match. I'm really excited to see this next week. I can't say enough good things about Mickie James right now. She's knocking it out of the park with this new heel character. I haven't been this entertained by her since the days of Psycho Stalker Mickie. Everything about her works. The Main Event Mafia come out and make a big deal of introducing their new member, and hot damn, it's Magnus.
Yes!
Awesome. Now we're talking. And before people start nitpicking this and bring up the former world champion rule, Magnus still qualifies. He was world champion of Ring Ka King. I think we can count that. And yes, there's the issue of this being another person who was there that night at Slammiversary and never bothered to help Sting, but I think it's clear by now that the writers are kind of throwing that out. And that is annoying, but if it makes it possible for Magnus to be in this group now, I'm okay with it. The original Main Event Mafia might have started with the intention of ultimately elevating some younger stars, but that's not what happened. Very quickly, it devolved into a massive ego trip, a way for a group of aging veterans to relive their glory days of the NWO by burying all the young talent on the roster under so much shit that it took TNA months, if not years, to dig them out. What we're seeing now with this new group is what the original Main Event Mafia should have been. You got the veterans, but you also got the younger guys. You got the hot up-and-comer in there. And a lot of the focus seems to be on highlighting and elevating those people. They have this promo segment with Sting and Angle where they spend a lot of their time talking about how great Samoa Joe and Magnus are. How awesome it is that they're in this faction. Kurt Angle acted like it was a huge win for the Main Event Mafia that they actually got Magnus on their team, the fastest rising star in the company. This was the best job TNA has ever done with making Magnus look like the guy, and it's working. Fans are reacting to him more and more, and rubbing shoulders with Sting and Angle like this, having them treat him like a peer, like an equal. Magnus is going to get a hell of a rub from this. This could be what finally solidifies his main event status. I thought this segment was fantastic. The one thing I might have changed, though, was the way they revealed it. They could have found a more dramatic way to do this. Instead of just having a promo and saying, "It's Magnus," maybe they could have had a brawl with the pussies in leather, with the heels getting the better of them, and then suddenly Magnus hits the ring and runs them all off, and the following week, then announce him as the new member. But that's really a minor nitpick for what was easily one of the best jobs TNA has done in elevating a young star, probably in the last several years.
Yes! 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 Yes!
You could have blown me over with a feather when they not only started Impact with the X Division, but had that segment set up the X Division main eventing this show as well. I mean, yeah, they had Hogan out there for this too, but we've all come to expect that by now. And with Destination X in a few weeks, it's great to see this happening. The whole Option C concept could so easily be phoned in or written off in a match that ends up meaning nothing and is quickly forgotten about, but it looks like they're gearing up to make a big deal out of this. And that's not only great for X Division fans, but great for the Option C recipient, who is now, once again, Chris Sabin.
Say what?
They had a rematch. It was the main event. Awesome. And Sabin won the title back. I really liked the way this was booked, with Suicide being taken out early by the Pussies in Leather. With the story they were going for here, this really needed to be about Sabin and Aries, so that was smart. Besides, that whole Manic thing was weirding me out anyway. They unmasked TJ as Suicide, only to put him back in the costume a week later with a different name. Manic? Spelled with a K instead of a C? I don't know.
What the fuck?
Go out of your way to see this match. This was really damn good. Death Valley driver on the ring apron that looked like it killed Sabin, cradle shock off the second turnbuckle, kicking out of each other's finishers, but not overdoing it like you see in a lot of Kurt Angle matches or ROH matches. Great stuff. This was not just Chris Sabin's best match since he returned, but the best X Division match we've seen in a long time, and the best Impact main event we've had in a long time. And hopefully TNA will take this as a sign that they need to drop that stupid triple threat rule. The only downside to this segment was Taz getting Aries and Sabin's names mixed up, not once, but twice. Unbelievable. How is this guy still employed as an announcer? He can't even get the wrestlers' names right half the time. Hashtag bring back Todd.
I got a factoid for both you guys. I got a boil on my ass.
So Sabin wins the title. They switch it to Aries in a great swerve, only for Sabin to win it back a week later. I assume this was about giving Sabin one more hurdle to overcome, giving him a big win over a main event guy to kind of legitimize him before he cashes in on Bully Ray. Mission accomplished, I guess. Were the title switches necessary? That's debatable. I think this could have been done without them, but the unpredictability was refreshing, and it made for an exciting roller coaster ride of an angle, so I think it worked. I agree that Aries was probably the more compelling option to go with, but maybe they'll surprise us again, who knows. And I do really like this idea of someone like Aries making a last-minute power play for the X title. That makes sense. That's something that should happen. With Option C being an annual thing, you should have the X Division guys fighting tooth and nail for the title this time of year. I'd like to see them take that even further in the future, actually. Impact this week was sort of uneven. There was some stuff that did not interest me at all, but when it was good, it was freaking great. With Sabin and Magnus being two of my favorites, I had a huge smile on my face when this show was over. And if a show can do that for you, they must be doing something right.